Hello, my name is Greg Andrus. I'm the Vice President of the Democratic Party of Evanston. This is part of our video series where we're doing interviews with all of the aldermen and aldermanic candidates, as well as the mayoral candidates, the clerk candidates, and the school board candidates in this upcoming municipal election. So I'm just reminding everybody that the endorsement is going to be from January 17th up until January 23rd. We are allowing people to cast their votes online through the website electionrunner.com. So it's a secure way to vote. And on the 17th, all of our members will get their ballots mailed out to them. So if you haven't signed up for a membership yet, you can do so on our website, either as a dues paying member or as a member through volunteer. And if you're interested in volunteering with us for a couple of events and getting your membership that way, just reach out and we'll get you hooked up with a campaign or other volunteer opportunity. So I'm here today with Rainey, who is our current 8th Ward Alderman. And Ann, why don't you go ahead and spend a minute or two introducing yourself?
Well, like you say, I'm Rainey. I'm the alderman of the great 8th Ward, and I'm running for re-election, and I am the senior alderman of the Evanston City Council, and I've served for the longest of any alderman, I believe, ever elected in the city. So far, nobody has been able to find anybody who's served longer. And I've lived in the 8th Ward in three different homes, 2 on Dobson and 1 on Hull Terrace. I live on Hull Terrace now. I think I've done a really excellent job. I've provided excellent service. I have an indisputable, excellent record of attendance at city council meetings and committee meetings. I've served on every single committee of the council. And I feel such a privilege of having served the 8th Ward. It's a great ward. It's extremely diverse. It has all sorts of various kinds of housing and people. And it's come a long way, and I just want to continue to serve, and it's a pleasure. I feel so lucky.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining me today. So the questions I have are compiled from our members have submitted some questions to us, and we've sort of arranged them by the different values according to the Democratic Party of Evanston value statement that we voted on this past summer. So getting right into it here, the first question we have is, how well do you feel the city of Evanston has upheld its goal of assessing decisions and policies through a lens of equity?
Well, that's an interesting question. And I think what is going on right now at the city is we are assessing that very issue. And our staff is currently conducting a review of equity internally. In other words, it's very difficult to apply a lens of equity externally until you get your house in order. And I think we've discovered that we have some policies internally that are not quite equitable. And so we're working on that internally, and the staff is coming to the council in, I'm not sure if they're coming in January or in February to give us a full report. For example, some of our personnel policies aren't as equitable as they should be. And some of our promotional policies aren't as equitable as they should be, or might not be as equitable at all. So in that sense, it's very hard to translate equity to the community when you're not that equitable internally. So that's what's going on there. But I don't think we'll probably ever be satisfied with our work. So that's my answer to that question. It's an ongoing problem, ongoing issue, and our solutions will never probably be satisfactory to any of us. And that goes across all of our departments. Housing, housing is an issue, and policing is an issue. Healthcare is an issue, and we're working on it. And I don't think anybody could fault us for the effort that's being made.
Well, thank you very much. So the next question is, it came to us on one specific topic, but it also is a question about sort of a leadership style. The question is, how do you go about listening to and weighing conflicting calls from constituents who want opposite things? And this question came to us specifically on the subject of policing, saying calls from constituents who want more conventional police and those who want less. So it's a two-part a little bit.
Right. Well, since George Floyd, the issue of too much policing has come up. But prior to that time, only on rare occasions where there have been incidents have I ever gotten a call about too much policing. However, since then, I've had conversations with Evanston Fights for Black Lives Matter, having to do with too much policing. And because of that, we've taken a look at where that happened, and, there have been conversations with various people that over-policing takes place in my ward. And I've not found that to be the case, but at least it was of concern enough that I looked into it. You have to keep in mind that the 8th Ward is surrounded not by the city of Evanston, but on two perimeters by the city of Chicago, both of which have issues that are a little more serious than the city of Evanston has. And the other boundary is Skokie. So we have outside influences affecting policing in the city of Evanston in the 8th Ward. However, I don't get demands for more policing. I do get requests for good policing, and in that case, I've had very good responses, and I've not gotten complaints about I've not gotten complaints about policing being untoward. I've just not gotten that. Our police department has been very good to the 8th Ward, in my mind. However, I have gotten complaints from outside the ward and about policing in the rest of the city. And I'm very aware of that, and I'm very conscious of that. And I participate in those discussions. And, I'm very aware of the incidents with the NEPA people who came in and, covered up their badges. And I watched the Human Services meeting the other night. I'm not on that committee, but I was on the call. And some of those issues were very alarming. I believe I have a good relationship with the police. If we need more policing, like, for example, this catalytic converter issue that's come up, today's daily bulletin showed, 15 catalytic converters. I would like more policing at night, having them go up and down the side streets watching for these people who are doing this. But otherwise, I don't get a lot of complaints about the police. I just don't.
Okay. So there was a question then, what are you doing to, I guess, for the Black and brown residents, especially who are concerned that they're being unfairly policed? What do you say to assure them that, things are fair and that the police officers are being held accountable?
Well, I think our chief and our command staff have responded to those to those complaints, and I believe that we have now, and I would encourage them and I would help them file complaints if that were the case. If they told me that, I would help them file complaints, and I would encourage them. I do not believe that people should say, oh, nothing will ever happen if I file a complaint. I have encouraged people and I would help them file a complaint. And I would also immediately pick up the phone and call the chief and say, hey, this is what happened and we're gonna file a complaint and I wanna follow it and I would like you to give me follow-ups. Absolutely, I would be very hands-on in that case. And I involve victim witness, the victim services a lot. And I have done it twice this week, as a matter of fact, in cases where people feel that they have not quite, they haven't been abused by the police, but they didn't feel they got enough service from the police. And those are usually domestic cases. And I have done that twice this week, as a matter of fact.
So there's one more question. There's one more question that's sort of tangential to the police. It's about FOIAs. They've become something of a contentious issue lately. I'm sure you've heard your share of discussions on the council about FOIAs. So especially of the police department, what do you believe the city council can do to promote transparency with regards to FOIAs of the police department?
All right, could you explain to me exactly what information is being sought through a FOIA, and then I can answer that.
Well, this didn't come to us on a specific FOIA. I think it was addressing the recent change made to how FOIAs of the police are no longer being handled by the clerk's office and are instead done through the police office itself.
Well, I think one of the problems was there were some inappropriate revelations made from releasing information that shouldn't have been released to the public. And so in order to repair that, the police asked to have that taken away from the city clerk. I think that's how that happened. And certain information, I believe, should be private on a FOIA involving the police and the person arrested or, not convicted. If that's not the case, then my bad, but I think that's what happened. Certain information was released that shouldn't have been to the public. Okay.
So you had mentioned the NEPAs or NIPAS. I've heard it pronounced all sorts of
ways. I know. NEPAS, I think NEPAS. NIPAS.
Yeah, so you had brought that up earlier, them covering their badges and whatnot. I just wanted you to expand on that a little. Do you think there's like a way for the city to have more oversight over that organization, and just a way for the residents of Evanston to have more, for it to be more transparent and accessible for people?
Yeah, I was very concerned about that before I even knew they had covered up their badges or their names or their numbers or whatever. I didn't think that they should have been called in on that. And, sometimes that kind of a presence creates more agitation than it prevents. And so I have no problem with them coming in when there are other kinds of events. But when it involves a demonstration like that, I wish we didn't call them in on those kinds of things. Like, for example, when there was a hostage situation, that I think we need help on. That I wouldn't have a problem with. But the demonstration involving Evanston residents and students, et cetera, I think we could have handled it ourselves. And if we couldn't handle it ourselves, and I know the chief explained how many demonstrations there had been and how our forces were being, really stretched to the limit. I think this whole issue that was raised with that particular demonstration really brought out some behavior that has to be changed with NEPA, and that is no covering up your badge. No covering up your badge. That can't happen. And I don't know what the issue is with the FOIAs with NEPA. That has to be looked into. Who are they? I mean, we are NEPAs. We serve in other communities on their force, and so I hope we resolve that. That can't be. You know, I totally disapprove of it. I don't know how to fix it because I'm not a cop or an administrator of police, but it has to be fixed. Yeah, and I hope. And I really think the chief ought to sit down with the council, and we need to come to an agreement on that. And I know that we don't run the police department. I don't agree with members of the council who think we should tell the cops what to do. But in this case, this overstepped all of our community boundaries. I was very upset before any of the other information came out that they were there handling this.
Yeah. So on the subject of oversight, you said that, I mean, it's not city council who oversees the police department. The board as it exists now is, I believe, appointed by the mayor. Would you like to see an independent board, or do you think the one that the mayor?
What board are you talking about?
The police oversight commission. There's a.
Oh, the one who reviews the complaints? Oh.
Yes. Yeah.
Independent? You mean people from out of town? What do you mean by independent?
So one of the calls, there have been organizations in Evanston who are calling for an elected board, for example.
If you're talking about the board that the Citizens Protection Group, I don't know. I don't agree with that. But I think there's no reason why a board that's appointed and approved by the council can't be more independent. I mean, I've watched the board that the new board that we have, and I mean, they're very prominent, notable citizens, and I don't know why they can't behave independently. I think the mayor vetted them, and I mean, I don't know why the Citizens Organization for Protection can't submit recommendations for that board. And I think one of their members ought to be on that board. I would support that wholeheartedly. And I think that organization has produced some very interesting, helpful information, and I've learned things from them. But no, I don't think we need an elected board, and I don't think that board. I've read some of their information. They think they should be in charge of hiring the chief of police, and I totally disapprove of that.
Okay. So moving on, the next couple of questions are a little bit broader and deal with sort of government as a whole. Is there anything about the culture of our city government that you would like to see changed?
Culture of our city government. Are you talking about the culture of our city council or the culture of the city staff and the entire?
You've been on the board you've been, you know, part of the city government for honestly longer than I've been alive. But so like, is there anything that, you know, you would want to see changed just as part of the day-to-day, you know, processes of the government, of going about, you know, going to work every day? What do you see at City Hall that you'd like to see different?
Yeah, I would like to see a lot of things changed. I would like to see, and I would like to see the council take more control over what's going on. I think our staff has become more and more and more in control. I don't find a lot of ideas coming out of our council. It's gotten a little, I don't know, things are dropped in front of us a lot of times, you know, and I think, it has nothing to do with COVID, believe me. I just think that we're not showing the kind of leadership that I would like to see happen. We more or less take the recipe that's been given us and maybe tweak it here and there, but for the most part, you know, with the exception of reparations and a few other really important items, a couple of them, we pretty much take what they give us and either make it happen or defeat it. So I would like to see that happen. Also, I heard somebody at the meeting the other night that Malika did on Evanston Live say that it would be great if we could have more interaction with residents. Well, we used to have a lot of interaction with residents, and we used to get a lot more variety of people coming to the council and sharing with us some really impressive ideas and thoughts, and sometimes it was just very exciting to have the back and forth of residents. And then we started getting very angry crowds coming to City Hall who were very upset with the council, very upset. And a lot of people stopped coming. And so we no longer have that. And so perhaps there should be a way, instead of having our council start late at night after citizen comment, if there would be some way we could, and I've heard people who are at citizen comment say, we want more dialogue with the council. That would be great. We can't figure out how to do that, you know, because we're not allowed to meet with more than 3 aldermen to have conversations with members of the community. I mean, unless we make big announcements and notify everybody, you know, what, 48 hours in advance, and we just can't do it spontaneously. So, you know, but that would be great, you know, if we could just spontaneously have conversations with people in groups.
So to follow up on the first part of your answer there, you were talking about council making decisions versus staff making decisions. We had also gotten a question, how you feel about the current council manager form of government. It almost sounds like you would want to go to a strong council versus a council manager.
No. Yeah, you know, the manager and the staff are the professionals, and they, you know, we have engineers and architects and, you know, planners and, you know, the health department people. They're the smart ones, but we should be, I just long for a little more creativity. That's what I'm talking about. We do make the decisions, but we pretty much stay within the box that, you know, the agenda is prepared for us. You know, I think that we just need to get a little more innovative, and that's, some of us get in a lot of trouble when we try to be innovative.
Okay. So the next question, or we're going to move on to a little bit about the environment here. And we got a question from one of our members about the Climate Action Resilience Plan. Has a goal of a carbon neutral Evanston by 2050. What do you feel are the biggest challenges we face in reaching that goal? And do you feel that the current goal is good enough, or would you like to see something even more ambitious?
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are going to tell you it should be more ambitious, but this is very ambitious in my mind. And while it's 2050 is the goal, that's the, you know, carbon neutral, we do have stages where we hope to meet certain goals, pre-goals in certain stages. And, we had an incident the other couple of weeks ago where, some people came to the council and one of them is zero waste. I think that's 2030, zero waste, something like that. And that's something, I know that's not very sexy and it doesn't have to do with windmills, but it's something that we can all understand. And one of the things that I read and heard in my studies is that 75% of our garbage, and that's solid waste, can be either recycled or composted right now. So a woman came and argued that she lives in a 2-flat or a 3-flat, can't remember which, and she does not use, and if you live in a 2-flat or a 3-flat, you have to have 3 garbage cans, the black cans. But she only uses 1 or 2, I can't remember which. And so one is always empty because she is a major recycler and a composter. And why does she have to pay for that can every month? I said, you shouldn't have to pay for that. And I happen to know somebody else who doesn't use a can. So I argued with Public Works, sanitation, about allowing people who are doing exactly what what one of our goals is. They are moving their solid waste into recycling or composting, doing exactly what one of our goals is for CARB. Can't do it, just too complicated, can't do it. How are we going to single it? There were just so many reasons why we couldn't relieve that person of that can and not charge her for it and let her so that is very upsetting. So one of the things in the way of reaching our goal is people saying, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that, when here we have, because we're blaming citizens who are not educated for not reaching our goal. But it's not just our citizens, it is us, who's the enemy. We looked and we found out it was ourselves. So that is one thing, but I think that is a goal we have to reach. And I think, we're really doing well. And another interesting one of the issues is the greenscape part of it. One of the things within the CARP is not to so much plant more trees, but to take care of the trees that we have. And every time it comes up to inoculate the elms, we have a fight because it's so expensive. And new aldermen or aldermen who are tired of spending money on trees think, well, maybe we should put this off. No, we shouldn't put it off. We should maintain these big, huge, beautiful trees we have and inoculate them. The inoculations for Dutch elm have worked. They've worked. We've saved thousands of trees. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't understand that, that saving the trees is better than planting new trees. So, I don't think this is, I think this is a wonderful plan, and we are doing everything humanly possible. And the city is only 1% of all of the energy used in the city of Evanston. So, and we are doing major things. As a matter of fact, this week, I think this week, Tesla is installing all new electric charging stations in our garage downtown. So we're encouraging electric vehicles, and we're buying electric vehicles. And so was there any more to that one?
No. No, they just wanted to know what the biggest challenges we faced in reaching that goal. And
Education, I mean, we've got to tell people what it is. We can't keep it within, I mean, there are, I don't know, 17, 18 community organizations that are part of it. But we have to, not everybody knows what it is. We've got to go out and really educate the public. But I think when they know all of the various opportunities they have to participate in this, they will.
yeah. So the next couple of questions are about finance and development. So the first one is fairly broad. Do you feel overall that expenditures by the city of Evanston over the last 4 years have appropriately reflected the priorities, needs, and interests of Evanston residents?
I do. I try to keep very close track, and I think with the exception of Robert Crown, I think they have. I think the Robert Crown building caused a lot of issues among a certain group of residents. They felt that it was too expensive, and they feel that the cost was unnecessary and we should have built something smaller. I disagree with that. I think we engaged citizens who made major contributions to the building of that building. And from what I know, and I talk to people frequently who are using Robert Crown right now, who find it just an amazing facility, and the use they're making of it is not costing them anything. So they're finding it just a dream facility. And I think once the COVID is over and we're into phase 5, I'm hoping to see that everybody, even though there is, people are concerned about equity issues when it comes to Robert Crown, I think we're going to show that all people are able to use the facility. And I certainly will work to make sure that happens. But other than that, I think that we've done a really good job. But that has caused a lot of anguish in the community, Robert Crown. And we did, I wasn't involved in it in the beginning. I got involved late, but something, we didn't do that right. And the price escalated we told people it was going to cost one thing, and then different things happened and prices went up and people lost faith and trust. But it's up now, and it's a gorgeous place. And it has so many things to offer in the outside, the play space outside, just amazing. So hopefully everybody will get to use it. Right. And it's centrally located, and I certainly intend to field every question of anybody who has a complaint about it, make sure that people have an opportunity to use it. And just, and some of the problems that people have with it is that, that it has these fancy rinks and things. They are going to be money makers to help pay for it. So.
Okay. So the next question, even before the pandemic, it seemed as though downtown Evanston was full of empty storefronts. Mm-hmm. And of course, the pandemic has just made this worse. What do you believe can be done to promote development in a way that prioritizes small businesses and local ownership?
Well, if we put a few more buildings downtown with housing in them, create a few more customers, and that might help. I think that'll be a big help. One of the problems we have with some of the storefronts in downtown is We have out-of-town owners who are not in touch with reality in terms of their pricing for some of the rents down there. We've had that for years and years and years, and we've, communicated with them, and not much you can do. But anyway, with some of the other ones, we've just had, some unfortunate business situations, and that we have really supported businesses. The city of Evanston has, with Economic Development Committee has provided grants. And when we do that, we get criticized for that. We have been criticized. We have numerous grants that we provide for independent shopkeepers. And but I think one of the things that really does help downtown, keeps people in business, is the number of residential customers that we have living downtown. That's very important.
Okay. So the next question is actually on the subject of residential development. So despite the number of new residential units constructed in Evanston over the last few years, including some of the larger buildings you've mentioned, housing costs in Evanston continue to rise. Do you feel that the inclusionary housing ordinance is doing enough to combat this? And what solutions would you like to see implemented?
Well, what I read in Cranes and Biz is that housing prices are going down. Now, they're not going down to the point where they're affordable for people, that are 50% of medians, but how rental prices are going down. That's fact. So, the inclusionary housing ordinance. Well, we're talking about units, affordable units in buildings, right? Or the money being paid on the outside. Okay. Ask the question one more time. I'm not sure I understand.
So it's despite the number of new residential units constructed in Evanston over the last few years, housing costs in Evanston continue to rise. Do you feel that the inclusionary housing ordinance is doing enough to combat this rise in costs? What solutions would you like to see implemented?
Well, I don't think the inclusionary housing ordinance was meant to reduce the price of housing in Evanston. So that's one thing. Second thing, I don't agree with the premise that housing costs are going up in Evanston. I think they're really going down or flattening. However, one of the problems is, and we know, that the downtown housing that's been built, not family housing, it's not family housing. And that evidently is where we have the biggest need for affordable housing right now. And I'm going to make a plug for the 60-unit affordable housing building that I am extremely proud of. That's going up on Howard Street right now. It's out of the ground, and it will be ready for occupancy, probably hoping around September 2021. And it's all for, every unit is affordable. It's 60 units, all for seniors. And it's not supportive housing at all. It's for healthy seniors, right across from the fish keg. What better location? So, I mean, that's a really good infusion of affordable housing. So I think what's happened is, I think we made a mistake. I think we made a mistake to begin with, asking for affordable housing. Other than the small units are great for seniors in downtown Evanston. Those little units are great. Seniors need affordable housing. They need it downtown. They need elevators. That's great. But it doesn't do a thing for families. And I prefer, and I said this on the council floor so many times, if I were a family who needed affordable housing, I would not want to be stuck on the 15th floor of an elevator building in downtown Evanston raising my little kids. I mean, that just is foolish to me. So I would have preferred making a requirement for these developers to provide, in lieu of affordable housing in their building, a payment in lieu for family housing, so that we could get family housing for folks off site in family neighborhoods. And, you know, that didn't happen. Everybody fought to get units in these buildings. And that's just a matter of opinion, but that was my opinion, that we shouldn't force family and 1 bedroom and maybe little teeny 2-bedroom units. It's not family housing, just not. So I would prefer payment in lieu and develop family housing on. And one of the best places we can put some family housing, it's not going to be a lot, is the parking lot that is, and I can never remember if it's Keeney or it's, maybe it's South Boulevard, but it's in the 9th Ward, or maybe it's a 3rd Ward. It's right south of the Chicago Avenue Walgreens, that street right there. There's affordable housing now. Housing Authority of Cook County has a few, like maybe 4 units of affordable housing right there, just right south of the Walgreens and immediately east of Chicago Avenue. There's a city parking lot. Perfect spot. Cicely Fleming supports it. I support it. I know a couple of other aldermen support it. We can collaborate with the Housing Authority and build some affordable housing right there, all for families. And there was some opposition, of course, and we just need to really push for that and not take no for an answer.
Okay. So we're on our last few questions here. I know we're running a little bit long yet, but the last few. So when you first joined City Council, and I'm asking this of all the incumbents, but I know you have to go back the furthest. When you first joined City Council, what was your #1 priority? And do you feel that that's a goal you've achieved?
Yes, my #1 priority was decent housing. When I joined City Council in 1983, the housing on Clyde and Callan was deplorable, absolutely deplorable. And yeah, I worked very hard on most of Custer also. And we worked with the police department and the property standards department. And at the request of the residents, we got it all cleaned up, and even went down to Sherman, some problems down that way towards Oakton, and we went to court. That's when property standards reported code violations to the circuit court. Went to Skokie. We were really activists. I mean, it was, you know, back in the old days, we were activists. We really, I mean, the chief of police was involved. We had meetings at the police station with the owners of the building. And, you know, it wasn't a malevolent thing. It was, you know, these people are entitled to decent housing and they're paying you a lot of money and you're going to do it. And as a matter of fact, out of all those efforts came the very first affordable condominium. And that was at I think it's 124 Clyde, 124, it's the second building on Clyde on the west side of the street. A foreclosure happened on a courtyard building, and Evanston Housing Coalition, we got them to get the building, and they deconverted a 24-unit building into 12 units. And we required only large families. which was like 2 kids, we call it a large family. They deconverted it to 12 units, and we sold the units to families. And as a matter of fact, Peter Braithwaite was one of the first families in that building. And it was very exciting. But that building was beyond repair, and we were afraid. The court ordered it vacated, and we saved it. And yep, and so we saved it, and Peter was one of the first owners in the building.
All right. So I know we're a little over our time here, but I wanted to give you the chance, if you'd like, to maybe take a question from, it looks like we have a couple of people in the audience here.
Sure.
Sure, okay. So to everybody who's watching right now, I'm going to allow you to unmute yourselves. All I ask is that you not talk over each other. Try to keep it to one question at a time. And in about 5 minutes, I have to open up the next video for the school board candidate who's coming up at 7 o'clock. So,
oh, good. I'll watch that.
So if anybody from the audience wants to unmute themselves. Okay, it doesn't look like anybody's jumping in. So thank you so much, Anne, for joining me. So we'll be posting this to our website probably tomorrow morning. And yeah, just a reminder to everybody watching, if you're not a member yet, renew your membership through our website or join as a member through volunteerism. The ballots will go out on January 17th. And you can vote up until January 23rd in the Democratic Party endorsement. So thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you so much for doing this. Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.